Hello, my name's Phil Parnham. I'm a Chartered Building Surveyor, and in this video I'll be showing you how to use a telescopic ladder suitable for residential property inspections. Okay, the first stage, the first thing you need to know is to get to know the ladder itself, and hopefully you should have been provided with all the necessary booklets and instructions from the manufacturers, and you've really got to know those very well. On most ladders as well, and here we've got a standard telescopic ladder, there's a useful reminder on the side of how to use this. So it's always worthwhile making making yourself aware of these. And in this particular case, it's got instructions how to extend it fully to its full height. And if you wanted just to get to head height or, get to 3/4 height of the ladder, also how to set it to an intermediate height, which is a different process. And it's important to understand the differences between the two. Okay, but here, what I'll be doing is just showing you how to fully extend it. This is assuming that maybe you've got a flat roof to inspect, or a loft space to get into. And with this particular sort of ladder, to fully extend it, you've got to do it all in one go, rung by rung, starting from the top. So what I always do is make sure I've got enough space. I won't bang into anything as the ladder increases in size. And I've got my foot on the bottom rung just to keep it securely planted. And then literally, you just extend it upwards. Now, doing it this way, as I say, this particular type of ladder, you have to go to its full extension. It's only when you click it in its full extension that it remains secure. So, if you were, for example, putting it against a wall to inspect a flat roof, then the usual rule, the usual recommendation is that it's a 4-in-1 ratio, they call it. So for every 4 units up, it has to be 1 unit out. And looking at this, I think that feels about right, maybe a little bit more. So it has to be at a decent and a safe angle for you to allow to use it. And also, the safety checks that are really important is on most ladders, they will have these little tabs sticking down. And in the manufacturer's instructions for this particular ladder, these have to be down by an angle of something like 70% or something like that. So what I do is I just check on underneath every rung, and then before I use it, I just give it another tug like that to make sure it's all safely locked. Because what you don't want to be is halfway up when it starts detracting. So that's a very definite health and safety risk. So once assembled, then in this case, I call it the 3 points of contact. You've always got to have 2 feet and a hand on the ladder, or 2 hands and 1 foot. To make sure you're secure. So the rule there is that you don't want to be climbing a ladder with cameras, torches, clipboards and all of that sort of stuff. We want to make sure your hands are kept free, or as free as possible. Okay, now for the risky bit. Is actually putting the ladders away. And because it's a telescopic ladder, depending on the manufacturer, most will have a release mechanism. And once you operate that toggle, that switch, once you release the ladders, then it will de-telescope often very quickly. And because it's such heavy a sectional ladder, then any thumbs or fingers in the way will get badly bruised or possibly broken. So it's a really sort of a dangerous part of the process. It always scares me to death. But anyway, the way I do it is to just get the ladder in a bit of a better balance with the wall there, because you've got to pull it away almost vertical, And then in this particular case, you get your thumbs on these little toggles here. These are the release mechanism, and then pull sharply downwards, and the cascade will begin. Now, with many ladders, maybe it's because they haven't been lubricated properly or they're beginning to stick through overuse, then you have to encourage it down more and give it a little helping hand. And this is where you've got to be really careful you don't get your fingers and hands caught in the mechanisms. But once it's down to that level, then it should have locked itself and it's ready to be lifted, but only by the appropriate lifting handle and taken away. The previous section we saw how to extend the ladder to its full height. In this particular model, as I say, you have to do it all in one go. But it does allow you to set it to an intermediate height, say head height. And this might be particularly useful where you want to get into a loft space, but in the first instance, just get up to, say, door head height, so you can climb part of the way up it, lift the loft hatch out, come back down and reset the ladder for safe access to the loft space itself. So in this particular case, you have, rather than pulling from the top, the manufacturer's instructions say you pull from the bottom movable rung, and to do that you just really need to make sure you got your foot on the bottom most rung to keep it in place. And then you simply just pull it up and you can hear it locking each particular time up to the height that you need. So for example there, just check that you've got all these red tabs sticking down on the ones that have been extended. And then you can simply set it to the appropriate spacing and then just climb up and just then remove the loft hatch or look on the flat roof or whatever you want to do. And disassembling it is just the same as we've seen before.